All right. Good day, everyone. Valve has just announced and released the pricing for the Steam machine. There's been a lot of controversy over, or the current internet conversation revolves around the price, which is $1,050 for a Steam machine, 512 gigs of storage, um, and well, doesn't come with a controller. Let's double check here. Let's see what we get. Category Steam machine. So for $1,049, you get AMD's Zen 4, 6 core, 12 threads, RDNA 3, GPU, 16 gigs of DDR5, plus 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, 512 gigabytes of NVMe storage, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.3, gigabit Ethernet, integrated Steam controller wireless adapter. So it has the wireless adapter for the Steam controller built in. Steam OS 3, small form factor, 6-inch cube. It is a 6-inch cube squared. So let's have a look. What can we build? I shop at Micro Center. This is not an ad for Micro Center. Micro Center does not sponsor this, but what can we build for the lovely price? Let's go with the 1128. Well, a lot of you may already have a controller. Let's go with the 512 gig. What can we build? First, because I kind of already started, but let's move our items to a list. And let's remove this because, again, I started this for in response to a social media post. So first off, we're on Micro Center now. There is a Micro Center near me. It's literally barely a 40-minute drive from my house. So this is, if you must know, if you live in the state of Michigan, there is a Micro Center in the state of Michigan. It is in Sterling Heights, Madison Heights. It's right here. Madison Heights. Also, they have a location in Phoenix. Austin is supposed to be, they're preparing to open that. California, you got Santa Clara, Tustin, Colorado, Denver, Florida, Miami, Georgia, Duluth, Marietta, Chicago, Westmont, Indianapolis, Overland Park, Cambridge, Rockville, Parkville. Maryland has a couple of Madison Heights, Michigan, of course, Minnesota, St. Louis, Missouri, Charlotte, North Jersey, Westbury, Brooklyn, Flushing, Yonkers, New York. Got a few locations. Columbus, Mayfield Heights, Sharonville. The great thing is Columbus is 4 hours away from me. Pennsylvania, St. Davis, Texas, Houston, Dallas, Fairfax, Virginia, and shippable items. But we are sticking with the location that is closest to me, Madison Heights. I go here all the time. I get majority of my electronics from one of two places. Micro Center, occasionally for a quick trinket or something like that, I'll go to Best Buy. I've gotten a couple of things at Best Buy, um, and of course Amazon. So we're working with AMD Zen 4 and RDNA 3. Gonna go AMD Intel bundles. We're looking at AMD here. So I did Google earlier, and the GPU in the Steam machine is supposedly comparable to a 7600. So let's keep that in mind in terms of the GPU. So we scroll down. Of course, we have our Micro Center exclusive. We have the 7500X3D. Let's look up the specs on the 7500X3D real quick. 100X 3D specs. What is it that we need to know about the 7500X3D? Enthusiast desktop processor that brings in general specs, 7000 series, Zen 4. So we basically met Zen 4, 6 core, 12 threads. Zen 4, 6 core, 12 threads. So we have our CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, DDR5 plus 8 gigs of VRAM. We'll get to the VRAM in a second, but we have our 16 gigs. Unfortunately, since it's only one stick, we do not get dual channel, but it's 6,000 mega transfers per second. This does it say? It does not say. Let's bundle now. All right, so let's add it to the cart and continue shopping. Something tells me, based on issues I've had with this earlier. But let's also look at the motherboard real quick. Let's see what we get on the motherboard. What's this? The ASRock B850. Let's see what we get on the motherboard. So we get 12 plus 2 plus 1 phase power design. It takes 4 DDR5 DIMMs, so we have some expandability. Dual channel up to 8,000 plus mega transfers. That's what that means. One PCI 5.0, that's usually the one at the top. One PCIe 4.0 times 16, two PCIe 3.0 times 16. So we got a lot of expandability here. Audio M.2, PCIe Gen 5, that's usually the one at the top. And one Gen 4. Where would that be? Huh. That's one at the top. Oh, there it is right there. So 1 and 2. For SATA 3s, 2 USB 3.2 type A plus C, 1 USB 3 on the rear, 1 USB 3.2 type C, that's for the front, that's for your case front, 6 USB 3.2 Gen 1, 8 USB 2.0 for rear, for front, Realtek gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6. So let's look at it here. So we got our USB ports, and of course our USB-C, HDMI, which, if I'm not mistaken, does this come with built-in? Does this come with an iGPU? Yes, it does. 2 CUs, 2 graphic cores. Does support USB-C DisplayPort alternate mode. Does this support USB-C DisplayPort outside of the GPU? Oh, so we got HDMI 2.1. That is good for our present situation right now, tech wise. It supports HDCP 2.3, HDR, max resolution 4K, 120 hertz. So the built-in iGPU is ready for the present and the future. All right, let's move to our graphics card. Now remember, I said I did the research. Theoretically, the GPU in the Steam machine is equivalent to a 7600. We have a 7600 right here with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So we're gonna to the cart. So let's be mindful that website wants to move slow today. All right, let's add the cooler. I have this, the Peerless Assassin. It is a great cooler, so we could just add it right here. Actually, it looks like it's we got 512 PCIe Gen 3. Unfortunately, is that Gen 3? That is Gen 3. What are we looking at on the Steam machine? Doesn't say. Does come with a micro SD card slot though. Be honest with you. Let's see what we can find in the 512 range. Gen 5 right now, in my opinion, is still overkill. Again, I've built a few PCs. Gen 5. So here we go. Gen 3, Gen 3, Gen 4. So we can get a Team Group for only $4 more. Team Group T4s, G50, 512, 3D, PCIe Gen 4. Add to cart. Bloop. Let's add that to cart for $4. So we have the cooler, the bundle, NVMe. What are we missing? Power supply. Let's go power supply. Spelling everything today. So we have the Corsair 750 full modular, or we can save $10. Let's save $10. So let's add that to the cart. It's probably overkill for the 7600, but the beauty of having a PC built is you can set it up so that it grows with you. So let's say you come up on some money, maybe $1,000 or something like that, and you decide, okay, the 7600 isn't enough for me. I want something like a 5070. Then you're already prepped. You already have the power supply for that. There's no need to go out and get a 7,000 watt power supply if all you're doing is basic. Like what we're building is essentially a really good 1080p 1440p PC with the release of FSR 4 for the 7000 series. Even not saying like 8 gigs of RAM, even with FSR 4, is not going to get you 4K gaming, but it will help a lot with 1440p for 7600, which should still be able to pull off good 1440p gaming. Let's see what else we got here. What do we got? The power supply. Did I add that to the cart? I don't remember. We'll just do it just in case. And again, you can't go wrong with either this one or this one. You can't. The 750, the MSI or the Corsair, you can't go wrong with those. I think I got a computer with an Asus. I got a computer with a Corsair. My main gaming rig for years had a Corsair 750. It had a RM 750. Um, I know right now one PC that I just upgraded has an NZXT 1000 watt, which was overkill for what it does. And then my 7900 XTX, the PC I have with the 7900 XTX in it, has a Asus 1000 watt. So basically, I got Corsair, Corsair, which I just gave my wife, um, a Asus in one, a NZXT in another. So you get a good power supply from a reputable brand, and like Montech, they're on the come up, but they're pretty good. I have their case. I have the King 45 Pro case. Great case. Love the fans. It is definitely cooling my system right now. The system that basically you see the screen on this on. But enough rambling. All right. So we got RAM, motherboard, PSU, CPU. What are we missing? A case. So we need a case. So what do we have? Let's start from the lowest price. Computer cases. I've built a PC in this case that I gave to a friend. Uh, someone new, Lian Lee. They make good cases, but we want a case that comes with a fan, of course, with fans. And I think you have plenty of options in the sub $50 bracket. So you got the Montex X3. uh, That's definitely not, doesn't have good ratings. Inland, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Micro Center's in-house brand. You have another Montech case for 60. Lian Lee for 60, which again is a big time name brand. You have Micro ATX. If we went with the Micro ATX case, Micro ATX motherboard. We even got NZXT, but we want to make sure we have fans. So let's go with the Montech. I love my Montech case. I love the look of it. I've only had it for a couple of weeks, so I can't really speak to its length of time and durability, but I got a Corsair 4000D that I've had since 2021, and it's taken a beating. All right. So let's view our cart so far. We got the Peerless Assassin. We got a case with 2 front fans. So we have this. We have the 7500 X3D, and that's $350. Got the 7600. This is the bundle, by the way. We got the Ryzen 7500 X3D, the ASRock B850, and the G.Skill 16 gig of RAM. The 7600 dual fan Challenger 279 Peerless Assassin. We increased, we used a different brand for the Gen 4 speeds, because when you look at even the Xbox series, the PS5, a lot of them use Gen 4. Gen 5 would be a bit overkill, to be honest. That's why. All right, let's drop that. We just got 80 bucks back. $919. So we got the Mag PCIe 750 watt. And we get, okay. And we have a nice Montech tempered glass case for the low price of $919. But remember, we have a Steam machine with controller for $1,130. What if, because that's $919. Let's check something real quick because I'm curious. What if instead of the 7600, we're gonna stay in a AMD family. Let's go for a 960 XT. And now we up it to 16 gigs, right? So let's add the cart. Nope. Let's close these out before it craps out on me. And real quick, let's look at the specs of what we're getting here. So we got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, PCIe 5.0, display port 2.1, HDMI 2.1. If I'm not mistaken, this has, I would, if I didn't have a 7900 XTX and I want to stay AMD, I would get the 9070 XTX if there's an XTX. Mostly because FSR4, the version of FSR4 that's on the 9000 series, in my opinion, would be better than the FSR4 we got on the 7000 series because the 9000 series is built for it. It has the hardware for it versus whatever modifications they had to make to get FSR4 to work on the 7000 series, because the 7000 series, according to them, doesn't have the hardware for it. But we're going to add this to the cart. View cart. So now we're coming up to a newer generation. All right, so 1339, let's remove that. Boom. Look at that. $1,059.94 before taxes. And this is our build with a 9060 XT. That is good 1440p gaming. Is it a 6-inch box that you can put on your desk? No. Is it a 6-inch box you can sit on your nightstand next to your TV? No. It's a box you can sit on the floor next to your TV, or in the case like I have 2 PCs sitting on the floor under my desk. Now let's see if let's see what it is after taxes. Hopefully it keeps the, yes it did. $1,123.54 compared to $1,128. In my opinion, you're getting a better buy. You're getting a better buy. A much better buy. Nothing against the Steam machine, because the Steam machine has to wrestle against multiple factors. One, they're not selling it at a loss where it can be subsidized by the seller games or subscriptions. They're selling it, according to them, they're selling it at cost. Microsoft and Xbox, maybe even Nintendo, don't know, but Microsoft and Xbox have both stated they sell their consoles at a loss, and that is supplemented with that gets supplemented with subscriptions such as PlayStation Plus, Xbox Game Pass, and the sale of games such as your first party games and so forth and so forth. As we've obviously recently we've seen where Microsoft and Xbox are going to be more inclined to keep their first party games on their own console. Definitely some money involved in that. Anyways, just wanted to go over this with you real quick. So you see we got the bundle with the CPU, motherboard, and we got the cooler, we got the SSD, we got the PSU, we got the case, and we got a 9060, which is a much better graphic card than the one that they're saying comes with the Steam machine. This is Chosen1278. Thank you for watching. I hope everyone stays safe and stays blessed. Peace.